know who we are. You know who we are. We are QPR.
This week's Player of the Week wasn't at QPR long, but he left a lasting impact on the club as both a player and a manager. Trevor Francis began his career at Birmingham and he made his debut at just 16 years of age, and he spent 9 years at St Andrews, scoring 118 goals for his hometown side. Arguably one of his best goals for Birmingham came against QPR in October 1976, as he scored this brilliant effort in a 2-1 win.
What a brilliant goal. That surely was true intrinsic skill. First past McClintock, then past Leach. Thunderous shot, down low. And no wonder Francis looked so pleased.
He was one of the first British players to move to America when he went on loan to Detroit in 1978, scoring 22 goals in just 19 games before he returned back to Birmingham. In 1979, he became the first player to be transferred for £1 million as he moved to Nottingham Forest, where he won the League Cup and he scored the winning goal in the European Cup final that same year. Francis' glittering career continued as he went to Man City before a move abroad to play in Italy for Sampdoria. During his career, he won 52 caps for England and scored 12 goals, and he played in both the 1982 and 1986 World Cups. After a spell at Atlanta, he moved back to the UK at Glasgow Rangers, where he won the Scottish League Cup before the chance to return to England arrived. Jim Smith brought him to QPR on a free transfer, looking to add some experience to the forward line, which had recently lost Gary Bannister. At 33 years old, he was seen as a veteran, and many felt he was well past his best, but Francis still had loads to offer. He made his debut for Rangers as a second-half sub on the 26th of March 1988 as we beat Portsmouth 1-0. His first start came on Good Friday away at Watford, and we got another 1-0 win. He featured in the last 9 games of that season as we finished the season in 5th place in the top flight. We started the 1988-89 season quite slowly, and the team didn't score a goal in the first 4 games of the season, before Francis opened his account and QPR's account for the season, scoring both goals in a 2-0 win over Sheffield Wednesday. The goals continued for Francis in a 3-2 defeat at Millwall, and arguably his best goal for QPR came in the League Cup as we beat Charlton and he scored this spectacular volley in a 2-1 win. Rangers were having an okay season, but it was Francis who was the main man for us, scoring in a 2-2 draw at Tottenham. This goal in a 2-1 win over Coventry proved to be a big day for the club. It was Jim Smith's last game in charge as manager before he left to take over at Newcastle. Now speculation began as to who would replace him, and Francis emerged as a strong candidate. On the pitch, he scored in a 1-1 draw at Charlton before being named the club's first ever player manager. His first goal in the new role came against Aston Villa in a 2-1 defeat, and he got his first win as manager just a few days later with a thumping 4-1 win at Southampton, which would turn out to be his biggest win as QPR manager. Now, a knee injury ended his season as a player, and after being knocked out of both the FA Cup and the League Cup in January, followed by a Simod Cup exit in February, the team was starting to slip towards the drop, going 8 games without a win. Francis entered the transfer market and made some strong additions. Peter Reid, Andy Gray and Nigel Spackman arrived to bolster the midfield. Colin Clark arrived up front and scored on his debut at Newcastle. Francis then brought in a young winger from Brentford called Andy Sinton, who scored on his home debut and would go on to be a brilliant player at Loftus Road. Rangers ended up staying up with a strong end to that season, winning 8 of the last 12 games, which included wins over Manchester United and Tottenham. It wasn't all plain sailing though, and after Brian Clough had claimed Francis was too nice to be a manager, he showed his strong side in a very public falling out with Martin Allen, as Francis fined the midfielder for leaving the club hotel to attend the birth of his child.
I just regret that I couldn't find him a month's wages instead of 2 weeks.
Really? You felt that seriously about it?
I felt that he was in breach of contract for what he did. He walked out the hotel without my permission and went home. I feel annoyed about it because, he had been out the team for 10 weeks with injury and he'd been paid regularly for 10 weeks by the club. He also received bonuses for a month, and this was never mentioned. I feel that, we pay him very well. It's not for me to say what he earns, but, I think that as a first division professional footballer, I feel that he was in a position to go private, to have his own private gynaecologist and do what I did, and that was to have an arrangement with the gynaecologist to have the baby induced, and he could have had it induced at a time to suit himself and the football club.
Now, the move split fans and players at the time, and it certainly played a part in his downfall as manager, as he fell out with several players during his time in charge. Hopes were high in his first full season as manager, and we started it off with a 2-0 win over Crystal Palace before Francis returned from injury and was soon among the goals. He scored this unbelievable hat-trick against Aston Villa. This third goal summed him up as a player, showing great skill, class and composure. Even the Villa fans applauded. His final goal for QPR came in a 4-1 home defeat to Southampton, which was his biggest defeat as a manager. The pressure was really on him as results were not good, and we'd gone 7 games without a win. Fans were starting to lose patience. He still had one special day in him though, as we beat Liverpool 3-2 at Loftus Road. He watched from the stands and celebrated that famous win with his wife Helen embracing him in the director's box. A 3-0 defeat at Arsenal followed, and then a dour 0-0 draw with Millwall, and his time as manager came to an end as he was sacked and replaced by his coach Don Howe. He did have one last transfer to make though before he left, as he agreed a deal for Ray Wilkins to join QPR, which went through despite him leaving as manager, and was probably one of the best free transfer signings the club has ever made. Francis went on to have a long managerial career at Sheffield Wednesday, Crystal Palace and Birmingham City. Although his time at Loftus Road was short, it was never dull. He made 42 appearances for QPR and he scored 15 goals, which included 1 penalty, 1 hat-trick, and he scored twice on 2 separate occasions. He scored 4 of his 15 goals against Aston Villa, which must have been nice for a very loyal Birmingham City fan. Now, 7 of his goals were scored at Loftus Road and 8 of them away from Loftus Road. As a manager, he won 14 of his 47 games with a win percentage of 29%. His time as manager, though, had some classic games, and he made some key signings such as Andy Sinton and Ray Wilkins, who would go on to form the backbone of the team which flourished in West London during the early 90s. Now, Trevor Francis very sadly passed away in the summer of 2023, and QPR fans paid tribute to him with this great flag, which was on display when we faced Birmingham away in September 2023, as well as featuring at several home games. Francis had a great career in football, and he should be remembered fondly by QPR fans as both a player and a manager. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give us a like and subscribe to the channel.